In the 26th century, humanity's long conflict with the Covenant, an extremist alien faction, finally comes to an end with a fragile treaty. But even in this so-called peace, Earth's far-off colonies remain exposed to alien threats. To prevent any surprise attacks, the Office of Naval Intelligence secretly monitors Covenant activity. On the colony world Cedra, Lieutenant Commander Locke and his squad track an alien smuggler named Axel through a forest. During surveillance, they witness a Covenant ship drop off an elite zealot, a warrior Locke hasn't encountered in years. Axel delivers a small device to the zealot, and from a distance the team concludes it hides a bomb. Acting quickly, they split forces. Ramos captures Axel while the others pursue the zealot. When the alien heads toward a nearby city, they call in reinforcements. Locke follows the zealot into a service tunnel but is ambushed. After a brief fight, Locke takes cover behind a door, yet when he looks again, the zealot has already vanished. The pursuit continues until they corner him inside a mall. Locke leaps onto him, fires, and demands the bomb. The zealot declares this is only the beginning, activates the device, and plunges to his death. The blast sends an energy wave across the city, though at first it appears harmless. As the squad prepares to withdraw, they notice civilians collapsing with strange symptoms, labored breathing and darkened veins. 2 nearby ONI operatives are also infected, forcing their teammates to rush them to a hospital. Colonel Akin of the Colonial Guard initially bars entry, citing his distrust of ONI, but Locke convinces him after showing the severity of the agent's condition. Fearing an outbreak, Akin orders the rest of the squad to undergo testing. They are cleared, but soon patients from across the city arrive with the same illness, some from as far as 10 kilometers away. Medical analysis reveals disturbing news. The sickness is caused by a bioagent fused with a mutated element unknown to human science, and it only targets human DNA. None of the alien settlers are affected. The Covenant has devised a way to devastate humanity without openly breaching the treaty. Cedra may be a trial run, with Earth as the true target. Investigating further, the squad uncovers the vehicle used to transport the bioagent, though its pilots remain missing. Locke suggests cooperation, prompting Akin to order his soldier Mur to escort the ONI team to base to continue the hunt. Moments later, Axel is taken prisoner, and Akin immediately starts roughing him up for answers. Locke steps in, stopping the violence and instead using his ability to speak the alien tongue. Axel insists he had no idea what the device was. He was only a courier, paid to transport goods. The only detail he can offer is that the bioagent originates from a place so dreaded that people call it hell itself, which is why zealots rely on others to fetch it. Tracing the smuggler's route, the team learns the source is a fragment of Alpha Halo, one of the 7 ring-shaped weapons destroyed in the war. A piece broke off, drifting dangerously near a red giant star. There's no indication that the bioagent ever existed on the ring beforehand, but Mur suggests it may have formed in the aftermath of the explosion, forged by the extreme heat. Scans show the element doesn't exist anywhere else in known space, prompting the team to consider destroying the fragment. Before they can act, sensors pick up a ship heading for the same ring. Locke contacts Command, securing approval to intercept the smugglers, collect proof of Covenant violations, and destroy the deposit. The mission is dangerous. The fragment's proximity to the star makes it almost impossible for humans to endure. They'll only have a 16-hour window of darkness while it rotates away from the sun. To pull this off, they'll need support from the Colonial Guard. Locke approaches Akin, only to find him grieving. His daughter has just succumbed to the infection. Fueled by vengeance, Akin agrees to join the mission, carrying her bracelet as a reminder. Soon after, the team departs aboard the Condor. On the way, Ramos watches a message from his children wishing him well. Tension flares when the squad notices a nuclear warhead on board, sparking a heated argument between ONI and the Guard about methods and priorities. Akin silences them, demanding they operate as one unit instead of rivals. Later, Locke confides to Mace that Akin was once a Spartan, a genetically enhanced super soldier created by the UNSC. At last, they reach the Halo fragment. ONI operatives leap out of the Condor in powered suits, while the Guard soldiers are forced to rappel down by rope. Mur and the pilot take the ship away for safety as the team begins their search. The landscape is eerie and lifeless, making every sound feel louder. They soon come across the smuggler's vessel, empty, with its engine still warm. Strangely, its parachute is deployed even though the craft is intact. Nearby, they discover a horse compartment damaged on landing, with hoofprints leading off into the distance. Since the terrain prevents ships from landing directly, the smugglers must be using animals to reach the deposits quickly. Following the tracks into a cave, the squad finds two smugglers, Ares and Heisel, extracting the bioagent. But the startled horses give them away, spooking the miners, who bolt out of the cave. The squad quickly overtakes the fleeing smugglers, captures them, and secures the horses carrying the containers. They regroup to rendezvous with the Condor, but as the craft descends, it's suddenly assaulted by a swarm of alien worm-like creatures called Oligolo. The worms swarm into the ship, throwing its systems into chaos and hurling Mur out the hatch. The vessel strikes the ground, lurches back into the air in an erratic spiral, then crashes in the distance. The worms pour across the terrain in overwhelming numbers, tearing apart the horses and killing 3 soldiers on the spot. Forced to retreat, the survivors drag the smugglers into a narrow crack in the rocks, where Locke activates a holographic field to cloak their position. While they search for a safer refuge, Ares reveals the worms are drawn to active tech and motion, prompting the team to power down every device. The horde slithers close, brushing past their hiding spot, but since the soldiers remain still and silent, the worms eventually pass without striking. When the path clears, the squad resumes moving. Locke snatches one of the worms that lingers behind and crushes it in his fist before pressing forward. After hours of marching, they halt to reassess. With no long-range comms and the Condor destroyed, their only hope of escape lies in the smugglers' ship. But the craft has room for only 2, while 9 remain alive. Locke proposes recovering the nuke from the Condor wreck and completing the mission. Akin agrees, adding that when it's time to escape, they'll draw straws so the burden of choice is shared equally. Facing a brutal journey, they strip off their armor, keeping only oxygen tanks and weapons to stay mobile and less detectable. Heading toward the crash site, Hugin suggests abandoning the Colonial Guard and smugglers since he believes the mission needs elite soldiers, not liabilities. Latch shuts him down, reminding him they're one team. The smugglers also chime in, pointing out they're the only ones capable of piloting their ship. Not long after, the squad stumbles upon a patch of vegetation and water, a rare oasis on the fragment. They pause to refill oxygen as fast as possible, but the moment a noise echoes nearby, they silence their gear and press onward. Without realizing it, the worms are already following their trail. During the march, Wissner drops her breather, which powers on as it rolls downhill. She lags behind to grab it, but by the time Ramos checks, the worms are already devouring her alive. He tries to haul her out of the swarm, but their strength overwhelms him, and Wissner is killed. Locke rushes in, snatches the activated breather, and drags Ramos back to the others. Unfortunately, the disturbance brings the worms down on the entire group. While fleeing, Locke tumbles down a slope and becomes pinned under a rock, drawing the swarm straight to him. Ignoring Akin's orders, Mace dashes to his aid. She snatches Wissner's recovered breather, switches it on, and hurls it away, luring the worms toward it and sparing Locke. Mace frees Locke's leg, and together they sprint back to the group while the worms tear apart the discarded breather. The squad holds their ground, waiting for the swarm to pass, but dread builds as they realize only 3 hours of night remain and they're still trapped. Suddenly, a figure approaches, looking like Wissner, until they realize it's the worms mimicking her form to lure them out. Hugin starts grumbling about their hopeless situation, and when Heisel snaps at him, Hugin shoves him down the slope. The worms instantly swarm and consume Heisel, giving the others a chance to break free. Once they've put distance between themselves and the feeding frenzy, Ares lunges at Hugin in rage, but Estrin restrains him. Latch berates Hugin for playing God, but Hugin coldly replies that God isn't here, meaning the decisions are theirs. Akin quietly warns Locke that soon he'll have to choose who stays and who survives. Hugin later corners Locke, urging him to abandon the idea of fairness and simply decide, but Locke insists on leaving it to chance with the straws. To distract himself, Ramos replays his children's message for comfort, but Estrin snatches the device and hurls it away, reminding him the worms can detect tech. The group presses on until they reach a cliff, only to see the ground below crawling with worms. Their only option is to edge along the cliffside in silence. Ramos, increasingly unstable, whispers to Estrin about forming an alliance, but Estrin refuses. In frustration, Ramos grabs him, shaking until Estrin slips. Though Estrin clings to a ledge and begs for help, Ramos deliberately lets him fall and later claims to the group that it was just an accident. When they finally clear the cliff, Hugin quietly signals to Ramos that he knows what really happened and doesn't hold it against him. As they pause to rest, Orion seizes the chance to snatch Akin's gun and threatens him for his breather. Latch immediately aims his own weapon to stop him, but Ramos steps in on Orion's side. Together they force Locke to surrender. Feeling betrayed by their own, Locke and the Loyalists are left defenseless as Ramos and Hugin take the weapons and drag Ares away, demanding he fly the ship for them. Mur despairs, believing they're finished, but hope sparks when Akin locates the wrecked Condor. Inside, they find the nuke intact along with extra arms. Mur notices some thrusters are still functional, enough to reach the smuggler's craft but not enough for escape. Akin suggests rerouting power from the nuke's auxiliary cell to run the ship, but warns that someone will still have to stay behind to arm the warhead and destroy the bioagent source. Once the Condor is rigged to move, Akin orders Mur and Locke to leave while he remains with the bomb. They refuse, insisting on drawing straws. Akin breaks apart his daughter's bracelet, holding out beads, white for those who depart, red for the one who stays behind. Mur and Locke both draw white beads, leaving Akin as the one chosen to stay, exactly as he had intended. After a heartfelt farewell, the pair departs in the Condor while Akin secretly reveals his bead was also white. He had rigged the draw to ensure the younger ones lived. Elsewhere, Ares tries to sow doubt by telling Ramos that Hugin is manipulating him. Ramos confronts Hugin, but Hugin calms him by pointing out that the smuggler ship must have autopilot and they only need Ares' fingerprints to activate it. After that, they can get rid of him. As they near the ship, Ramos begins to suffocate, forcing him and Hugin to pause and use their last breather. In the distraction, Ares slips free from his restraints and bolts. Ramos and Hugin chase after him, but their movement draws the worms. Hugin suddenly betrays Ramos, triggering his pack to snap his leg and abandoning him to the swarm. At the same time, the Condor appears overhead but loses stability and crashes, wounding Mur. Refusing to leave her behind, Locke hoists her up and carries her. Meanwhile, Ares reaches the smuggler vessel first and manages to power it on, which draws the worm's attention. But before he can launch, Hugin guns him down and makes a dash for the ship himself. The worms catch him mid-run, ripping him apart in moments before turning on the ship. All Locke and Mur can do is stay hidden and wait for an opening. As the horizon brightens with the rising sun, Akin arrives at the deposit and arms the nuke. The worms sense the energy and surge toward him, creating the distraction Locke and Mur need to board the smuggler ship and lift off. From the air, they watch the detonation consume Akin, obliterating the ring fragment and with it the bioagent threat, securing humanity's survival.